Improvisation is sitting down at the piano and playing with no music in front of you. It's an important part of becoming a great musician and learning the theory behind all of that. And I'm here to help. We're going through a journey through the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is a tool that we use to go through all of the keys in the piano. So a lot of times when we're first starting out, we start in the key of C major. C major is valid, it's important, but it's also something that a lot of people get stuck in. C major are all of the white notes between C and C, but there are a lot of black notes in between too, and a lot of people don't know exactly how to use them. So we started out in the key of C major, then we went to G major, and then D major, and here we are today on our fourth stop, which is the key of A major. The key of A major are the notes between A and A, but some of them are white notes and some of them are black notes. They're sharps. So we'll talk about that at the piano, and I'll show you exactly which ones to play, including the major chords in your left hand. So improvisation is not just a melody in your right hand. It also includes adding some chords in your left hand. Once you understand the 1, 4, and 5 of the different chords, it's going to become a lot easier to play.
Let's review all of the keys that we went through so far. First of all, we did the key of C major, which is all of the white keys between C and C, like this. Then if we go up 5 notes, we get to G. So on the key of G, we're going to put in 1 sharp. So instead of playing an F, we're going to play the F sharp. Here is the key of G major. Going up 5 notes from G, we're to D. Let's move down to here. And we have the F sharp from G major, and then we added a new one, which is C sharp in the key of D. So here is D major. And now we go to our next one, which is up 5. And we are at the key of A. So we're going to do this with just one finger to look at the key of A more closely. So we have the F sharp that we play instead of the F. We have the C sharp we play instead of the C. And we're going to add a new one today, which is G sharp instead of the G. So we will be playing F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, and skipping F, C, and G. So using one finger, here is the key of A major. C sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and going back down. I like to always start with the scale because it kind of teaches your fingers which notes to play and which notes to skip. So now let's work on a melody in the key of A major. So we're going to play between A and A. Just a little bit of a note, when we're working on a melody, we don't want it to be all over the piano as long as we're skipping the notes that I talked about. Melodies tend to be within an octave. Just to illustrate this point, I'm going to start on an A and end on an A, but I'm going to skip all over. And I want you to hear how it sounds to your ear. When we're skipping really far, it doesn't actually sound like a melody. It's too much for our ears to process. Here's an example of an extreme skip between notes. It doesn't really sound like much of anything, even though we started and ended on an A. So now I'm going to do a melody that takes place between, I'll move down an octave here. It's going to take place between A and A. Skipping our lava notes, like the floor is lava. You'll get burned if you touch them, so these are our 3 lava notes. Those are the notes instead. So now let's do a melody where we begin on A and end on A, but it stays within the octave, and hear the difference. that actually sounded like a little song. So if you don't like how something sounds, there's no rules, make up something else. You can change how you play it, how quickly you play it. You can change the order of the notes, the rhythm of the notes. There's really no wrong way to play as long as you are skipping the 3 notes that you're supposed to and you begin and end on A. Now let's work on our chords. I'm actually going to bring it to the middle of the piano so that we can see it and hear it the best. So let's begin with our left hand because that's what's going to be playing our chords, and we're going to start with a 1 chord. So we have an A, and we go up a third from A. And that brings us to a C, but we don't play a C, so we're going to play a C sharp. And then from the A, we're going from A up a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that leads us to an E. So a 1 chord is A, C sharp, E, with our 5 pinky, 3 middle finger, and 1 thumb. Now we're going to go to a 4 chord. A 4 chord is actually an inversion, so it's not going to be a stacked chord. So we're going to have our A with our pinky. With our 2 finger, we're already on a D, and then we're going to slide up this way towards the board of the piano to get to an F sharp with our thumb. So we have A, D, F sharp. The reason we slide, if you watch my wrist right here, if we're down here and we're trying to have our thumb reach the F sharp, 2 things can happen if we don't slide. Number 1, these 2 fingers would curl in so much that you would actually be playing on your nails, the top of your nails here, and we don't want to do that. So we don't want to do that. Or you would have to move your wrist to the right and kind of contort your hand, and that brings a lot of tension right here, and this is not a natural hand movement. Whereas sliding, you'll be able to keep your wrist straight. So we're going in and out like that. So let's practice moving between a 1 chord and a 4 chord. We're kind of going back and forth with those little slides. Then once we have that, let's go to our 5-7 chord. So our 5-7 chord, we're going to slide a little also. So our pinky or 5 finger can go to G sharp. We have 2 already on D and 1 hovering over E. So it is G sharp, D, E. So now let's practice moving between those 3 major chords, always ending on the 1 chord. So once you get familiar with how to do that, it's now time to put our right hand and do a little melody. So we're going to keep our hand right now in a 5-finger pattern, A, B, C sharp, D, and E. Okay? It'll be easier to start even more than the octave that we talked about before. So for right now, I want you to think of 4 beats in every measure. The first beat is going to be the chord, and the second 3 beats are going to be a little melody note. So it'll be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's try that moving in between those 3 major chords, beginning and ending on a 1 chord and on an A. Something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Once that becomes easy, we're now going to expand where we have the entire octave. Okay, so from the A to the A, any notes in between, as long as we're skipping our 3 lava notes here, the F, the G, and the C, and we will begin with our 1 chord in our left hand. Let's try out a melody. And you'll notice I ended on an A, but I ended on this octave A here, which is fine. You can totally end on either A, and it will still sound like a complete melody. If you're struggling to make a melody that you really like, I would also encourage you to use the pedal. Just one note about the pedal, however. Make sure that when you're using your pedal, you lift up your pedal in between the change of all the chords. So your sustain pedal is the right pedal on your keyboard or piano. And right now I'm going to show you just the chords, and I'm going to keep the pedal down the entire time so that you can see how it makes a muddy sound. So this is keeping the pedal down and not ever raising it. It sounds like this. Hear how all the notes kind of run together. Now this time I'm going to play a chord and then put my pedal down. As I'm switching, my pedal comes up and then down. So then it's not muddy. So a pedal is going to help your sound and your melody sound like it was meant to be.
I hope you enjoyed playing in the key of A major. Sometimes a lot of people are intimidated playing in a key that has 3 sharps or more, but it really just takes some practice and teaching your hand a new way of playing. So spend some time always doing the scale first and then the major chords and then adding together a little melody. And the more you play in the different keys, the easier it's going to be also when you start learning chord charts and playing in different keys, because not all chord charts are going to be written in the key of C. We're going to find lots and lots of different chord charts in lots of different keys, but we'll talk about that in a later video. So let me know how I can help. If there's any specific things that you are really struggling with, especially with your left hand or in playing in different keys, including the black notes, let me know. Keep practicing and good luck.